an 18-year veteran of the computer game industry and currently the position of Vice President of Business Development to Epic Games. Prior to this, he worked with a small software developer you may have heard of called id, and has worked on some of these seminal titles which we all grew up on and have informed the shape of the industry today. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage Mr. J. Wilbur.
Thanks. I hope you don't mind if I drink some coffee with you. It was a rough night last night. Some of y'all had me out late, and then I had work to do. And when I got back to the hotel, because the people on the East Coast of the United States don't understand that it's late here, and honestly, they really don't care. Today, I'd like to share some thoughts with you about mitigating risk using middleware in development. And secretly, just because you know who I am and what I do, licensing Unreal Engine 3. The subtitle of this could be License Unreal Engine 3, It Will Make Your Life Better. So moving right along. I'm Jay Wilbur. A little later, Rowan's going to join us and talk a little bit about their experiences, both good and bad, using Unreal Engine 3 or Unreal Engine on their projects. So you're not only going to get it from me from sort of like the Epic, the middleware provider perspective, but also like to bring another perspective, which is somebody who's in the trenches actually using middleware. So that's our logo. A little bit of background on Epic Games. We're a cutting-edge developer. We make great games for the Xbox 360. We make games for the PlayStation 3 and the PC. You guys know of Gears of War. Big game, sold a lot of copies, 5 million, 30+ Game of the Year awards. We just released Gears of War 2, seems to be doing okay in the marketplace. The Unreal Tournament series, we sold a collective 5 million units. Right now, that's a little outdated. We've probably got about 120 employees in our Raleigh, North Carolina, Cary, North Carolina, just a suburb of Raleigh, offices. And we also have external studios in Poland, Shanghai, and Utah. Some of the titles that have used Unreal Engine, just to give you a perspective that we know what we're talking about when it comes to licensing tech. Some big titles like BioShock, fantastic title, Mass Effect, This Is Vegas, Brothers in Arms, Hell's Highway. Those represent a very small section of a set of the games that use Unreal Engine. There are currently about 130 games in development using Unreal Engine right now. And that number is to swell with there's probably about another 120 development teams or projects who are looking at Unreal Engine for use in their projects. Now most middleware providers hear one thing, and it's something that we hear quite often, that gee, all Unreal Engine games look the same, right? I mean, if you license Unreal Engine, you're going to make a game that looks like all the other Unreal Engine games. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Nurian MStar. Nurian Software is a company out of Korea. They make social games, MMOG games within game economies where you sort of trade hair colors and buy shirts and things and stuff for home. They've got a place like Home on the PlayStation 3 where users can exchange in the economy buying gifts for each other. Could you run the video? Thanks. This is a little example of what they're doing with Unreal Engine 3. Guys, shake it up. truth of the matter is, when you license middleware, you're licensing paint and paintbrushes. You are the artist. The canvas is the console, the canvas is the PC. And what you're doing, and what you do with the paint and the paintbrushes and the tools you're provided with is up to the artist. You can create a masterpiece, as many of our licensees have done. You can stick the paintbrush in your ear. It's really, and you as the artist and your creative expression. Our job as a middleware provider, or and other middleware providers, to provide you with the guidance and the support and the tools necessary for you to be successful and to envision what you're seeing in your head. So let's talk about managing risk with middleware. So step one to managing risk is licensed technology. So there's the shocker of the day, right? The guy from Epic is up here telling you how to license technology. Hey, what does this guy do? He licenses technology. And I'll be out back handing out cards later on, by the way, if anybody wants to talk about that. Really think about it like this. Don't spend a lot of your internal resources solving a problem that middleware can solve faster and cheaper. I mean, that's really what it all boils down to, because in the end, you're going to spend a lot of time, you're going to spend a lot of your cycles, you're going to spend a lot of your money trying to build something that can compete with what's out there available right now. Instead, focus those efforts on making your game better than what your competition is putting out. So rather than worrying about the internal, under the hood, nuts and bolts of what the bottom line technology can do, think of the technology as a commodity, and what you're doing is building up upon it to make your game as good as it possibly can be. Again, don't spend all your time and money trying to catch up to something that you can license and use immediately. Very important, because if you're developing your own technology from ground zero, and you have a team of developers who are ready to go, the art side of that development staff is idle. While the development staff is working hard to develop technology, the art staff can make use of it. Sadly, what generally happens in the iterative cycle of developing that technology is your technology guys are feeding them, the art guys work, they're building assets, only the technology guys come back 3, 4, 5 weeks later saying, nope, we changed everything. Throw it all away, we've got to start all over again. When you license technology, generally you are productive day one out of the box, which is it absolutely means a lot to the bottom line of your product. Because again, it's all about mitigating risk. And if you guys can be productive, your development team can be productive day one, you've addressed a chunk of that risk. So let's talk a little bit about being smart in the licensing process. There's a lot of questions that you want to ask. Epic Games, internally, we rely on middleware products and our own products and in Unreal Engine. We'll talk a little bit about that a little more. But we have to ask these questions because every external dependency is a risk. We want to make sure that we've addressed those risks. So some of the questions you want to ask is, has that technology shipped before? Is it in a product? Has the developer that you're licensing it from actually put the rubber to the road and made something of it? Because when it ships it's in a version 1.0 state, that's really where reliability kicks in. And you can have some level of confidence that it's going to be solid. Can you ship your product if that company goes out of business or the provider goes out of business? They close their doors. What if they fail to make promised updates? Just the support just completely evaporates. They're going to leave you. If you license from a company where that's a reasonable risk that you're considering, they could leave you with a big problem. So what we at Epic, as a licensor and a